The banner reads, "Happy Retirement Wes," in gold letters stretched across the conference hall like a finish line I never asked to cross. 43 coworkers applaud as I walk through the double doors, their faces bright with the kind of enthusiasm reserved for other people's milestones. My wife Reina orchestrated everything. The catering tables loaded with shrimp cocktail and mini quiches, the balloon arrangements in corporate blue and silver, and the slideshow cycling through 25 years of our life together projected on the far wall. She doesn't know I orchestrated something too. Surprise! The chorus hits me like a wave, and I manufacture the appropriate shock, placing my hand over my heart and shaking my head with what I hope passes for overwhelmed gratitude. Reina appears at my elbow, radiant in her navy dress, the one that cost more than most people's car payments, and slides her arm through mine with practiced ease. "Did we get you?" she asks, her voice pitched perfectly for the audience surrounding us. "You had no idea, did you?" "Not a clue," I tell her, which is the first honest thing either of us has said in months. The Marriott Conference Center hums with conversation and the clink of glasses. Reina selected this venue herself, citing the elegant atmosphere and convenient location. What she really means is that it holds enough people to make a proper spectacle, and the acoustics carry well. Perfect for what she has planned. Even more perfect for what I have planned. I scan the room, cataloging faces. There's my entire department from Midwest Mutual Insurance, claims adjusters, underwriters, administrative staff who've watched me build a career over 3 decades. My boss Janet waves from near the bar, her husband beside her looking uncomfortable in his rarely worn suit. The Hendersons from our neighborhood chat with Reina's book club friends, those perfectly coiffed women who lunch at the country club and discuss other people's marriages like stock portfolios. And there, 3 tables away from the podium where someone will eventually ask me to give a speech, sits Marcus Torvin beside his wife Isla. Both of them smile and applaud with everyone else, believing themselves guests at a colleague's celebration. Marcus manages accounts receivable at our company. He's been managing my wife for 6 years. I confirmed the timeline through hotel receipts paid from a joint account Reina thought I never checked. The Coastal Inn in Traverse City, Michigan, the Grand Harbor Resort in Door County, Wisconsin. Weekend getaways that coincided with her book club retreats and her sister's visits, alibis I never questioned because I trusted the woman I married, the woman who promised to honor and cherish and forsake all others until the day we part. Today, we part. "Wes, you look stunned," says Tom Bradley from accounting, clapping me on the shoulder. "Reina really pulled this off, didn't she? Must have taken weeks to coordinate everyone's schedules." "Months, actually," Reina corrects, her laugh musical and warm. "I started planning this back in January when we got the official retirement date. I wanted everything to be perfect for my husband's big day." Her husband. Possessive pronoun attached to a man she's been systematically betraying since the Obama administration. I smile and nod and accept congratulations from people who have no idea they're attending a funeral, the burial of a marriage that's been rotting from the inside while I played the role of devoted husband and reliable provider. "The slideshow is beautiful," Janet tells Reina. "All those vacation photos, the anniversaries, the family gatherings. You two have had such a wonderful life together." "We have," Reina agrees, squeezing my arm. 25 years of partnership and devotion. Through good times and challenging ones, we've always had each other. The screen behind us cycles to a photo from our 10th anniversary, Reina and me at a restaurant in Chicago, both of us younger and apparently happier. I remember that trip. She spent most of it on her phone, claiming work emergencies that couldn't wait. I should have wondered then why an administrative assistant at an insurance company had so many after-hours crises. "Ladies and gentlemen," announces the catering manager, tapping a microphone at the podium. "If we could have everyone take their seats, Mrs. Farrow would like to say a few words about the guest of honor." The crowd settles into chairs arranged in neat rows facing the front of the room. I find myself guided to a seat in the first row, center stage for whatever performance Reina has prepared. She kisses my cheek before walking to the podium, and I catch a whiff of her perfume, something expensive and floral that she started wearing about 6 years ago, right around the time she met Marcus. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Reina begins, her voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "When I think about my husband's career, I'm amazed by everything he's accomplished. 30 years with Midwest Mutual, building relationships with clients who trust him with their most important decisions. Wes has always been someone people can depend on." Murmurs of agreement ripple through the audience. I've heard variations of this speech before, at company dinners, award ceremonies, social gatherings where Reina plays the supportive spouse with Academy Award precision. She's good at this, I'll give her that. The devoted wife routine comes naturally after decades of practice. "But what I'm most proud of," she continues, is the man he is at home. Patient, kind, generous to a fault. The kind of husband who never questions where I go or what I do because he trusts me completely. My jaw tightens, but I maintain my expression of humble appreciation. Around me, people nod and smile, charmed by this portrait of marital bliss. If they only knew that her praise doubles as confession. Yes, I never questioned her movements, and yes, she took full advantage of that trust. Wes gave me freedom to be myself, Reina says, to pursue my own interests and friendships without interference. Not every husband would be so understanding. The slideshow continues its rotation behind her, and I check my watch. In about 30 seconds, the images will shift from our curated life together to something else entirely. The photos I uploaded this afternoon while Reina was at the salon getting her hair done for the party. The photos that will explain exactly what interests and friendships she's been pursuing. So tonight, as we celebrate his retirement, I want everyone to know how grateful I am for 25 years of marriage to this wonderful man. He's been my rock, my partner, my best friend. The screen behind her changes. Instead of our wedding photo, the display now shows Reina and Marcus on a beach, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. The timestamp reads July 2023, last month during what she told me was a girls' weekend in Grand Rapids. A few people notice the change, their expressions shifting from polite attention to confusion. Reina, focused on her speech and facing away from the screen, doesn't see what's happening behind her. Through all these years, she continues, Wes has shown me what real partnership looks like, what loyalty means, what it takes to build something lasting together. The next image appears, Marcus and Reina in a hotel room, taken through what appears to be a partially open curtain. They're embracing, and while the photo isn't explicit, their state of undress makes the nature of their relationship unmistakable. Someone in the back row gasps. Conversations begin in hushed whispers. I know I speak for everyone here when I say that Wes Farrow represents the best of what a man can be. Honest, faithful, deserving of respect and admiration from all who know him. A receipt appears on screen now, blown up large enough for everyone to read. The Coastal Inn, room 237, charged to our joint credit card. The same card Reina uses for groceries and gas and every other mundane expense of our shared life. The same card she used to pay for her romantic getaways with her lover, confident that I'd never scrutinized the statements closely enough to notice. The whispers grow louder. People point at the screen, their faces showing the progression from confusion to understanding to shock. Reina's book club friends look mortified. My coworkers exchange glances, unsure how to react to this unexpected revelation. But Reina, lost in her performance, builds toward her crescendo. So please join me in raising a glass to my husband, Wes Farrow, a man who deserves nothing but happiness in this next chapter of his life, a man who has earned every good thing coming his way. She turns toward the screen for the first time, expecting to see our smiling faces looking back at her. Instead, she sees herself in Marcus's arms at what appears to be a restaurant, the two of them leaning across a candlelit table in an intimate gesture that no amount of explanation could make innocent. Her face goes white. The microphone in her hand wavers, creating a brief screech of feedback that cuts through the growing murmur of voices. She looks at me, then at the screen, then at Marcus, who has gone rigid in his chair 3 tables away. I think there's been some mistake with the presentation, she says, her voice losing its confident rhythm. These aren't the right photos. Actually, I say, standing and walking toward the podium, I think they're exactly right. The room falls silent except for the hum of the projector and the soft jazz playing through the sound system. I take the microphone from Reina's unresisting hand and face the audience. My colleagues, my neighbors, my friends, and my wife's lover with his unsuspecting spouse. Thank you all for coming tonight, I begin. And thank you, Reina, for that beautiful speech about loyalty and partnership and trust. It means a lot to hear those words from someone who understands their value so well. Another photo appears on screen, a bank statement showing regular transfers from our joint savings account to an account I'd never seen before. Amounts that started small 6 years ago and grew larger over time. Money that was supposed to fund our retirement, redirected to finance my wife's secret relationship. I have to admit, when Reina told me she was planning a surprise party, I was touched. After 30 years of marriage, she still wanted to celebrate my achievements in front of everyone we know. She wanted to make sure this night would be memorable. I pause, letting my gaze sweep across the faces staring back at me. Some look confused, others embarrassed, a few clearly fascinated by the drama unfolding before them. Marcus appears to be considering whether he can reach the exit without drawing attention to himself. What I didn't realize was that Reina had her own surprise planned, not just this party, but a whole new life she's been building. New relationships, new financial arrangements, new living situations. She's been very busy. The screen now displays a real estate listing, our house, photographed and described in detail, with a price that's significantly below market value and a notation that reads, "Motivated seller, quick close preferred." The listing date is 3 months ago. I found the paperwork hidden in her car last week, along with contact information for a buyer who was apparently already arranged. You see, folks, while I was focused on my career and planning for our future together, Reina was making her own plans that didn't include me, except as a source of funding. Reina finds her voice. "Wes, stop this. Please, let's discuss this privately." "Privately?" I ask. "Like the way you discussed your relationship with Marcus privately, the way you discussed selling our house privately, the way you discussed transferring my client list to Marcus's brother's competing agency privately?" That last revelation hits the room like a physical blow. My colleagues from Midwest Mutual exchange shocked glances. They understand the implications immediately. 30 years of relationship building, $4 million in annual premiums, client trust that took decades to establish, all of it systematically stolen and redirected to a competitor. Janet, my boss, stands up. "Wes, is this true about the client transfers?" "Every word," I tell her. "I have documentation going back 8 months, names, account numbers, transfer dates. Reina had access to my home office, my computer, my files. She copied everything and handed it over to the competition. My retirement was supposed to be the final step. Once I was gone, there'd be no one left who might notice the pattern." Marcus finally moves, pushing back his chair and heading for the door. But his wife Isla grabs his arm, her voice carrying across the silent room. "Sit down, Marcus. I think we all need to hear this." The screen changes again, showing a series of text messages between Marcus and Reina. Nothing explicit, but the tone is unmistakably intimate. Plans for meetings, expressions of affection, complaints about their respective spouses. The kind of communication that builds a secret relationship over years of careful cultivation. 6 years, I continue. That's how long this has been going on. 6 years of lies, 6 years of theft, 6 years of planning a future that didn't include the man who made it all possible. I look directly at Reina, who stands frozen beside the podium. "You were right about one thing in your speech. I am patient. Patient enough to gather evidence, patient enough to document every transaction, every meeting, every lie, patient enough to let you plan this beautiful party where you could celebrate our marriage in front of everyone who matters to us." The final image appears on screen, a legal document with the seal of the county courthouse. Divorce papers, filed yesterday, citing adultery and financial misconduct. The date stamp is clearly visible, along with my signature and that of my attorney. "So, thank you, Reina, for 25 years of lies. Thank you for showing me what betrayal looks like. Thank you for teaching me that trust, once broken, can never be repaired. And thank you for inviting everyone here tonight to witness the end of our marriage." The room erupts. Conversations explode at every table as people process what they've just witnessed. Some of Reina's friends gather around her, offering comfort and demanding explanations. My coworkers cluster together, discussing the implications for the company and their own client relationships. Marcus sits with his head in his hands while his wife stares at him with an expression that could cut glass. "But I'm not finished yet. There's cake," I announce into the microphone, my voice cutting through the chaos. "Chocolate with vanilla frosting, Reina's favorite. I suggest we all have a piece before we go. After all, it's not every day you get to celebrate the truth." The parking lot of the Marriott looks like the aftermath of a natural disaster. Small groups of people cluster around cars, their voices carrying across the asphalt in fragments of heated conversation. Through the conference center's windows, I can see the cleanup crew stacking chairs and clearing tables, the remnants of my retirement party reduced to trash bags and leftover cake. I lean against my Honda Civic, watching the drama unfold. Reina stands near her Lexus, the car I helped her pick out 2 years ago, the one with payments that come out of our joint account, surrounded by her book club friends. Their body language tells the story. Protective at first, then questioning, now openly confrontational. Margaret Chen waves her hands emphatically while Linda Morrison shakes her head in disgust. The sisterhood is fracturing in real time. Marcus emerges from the building alone, his face pale and his movements careful, like a man walking through a minefield. He made it halfway across the parking lot before his wife caught up with him, and their conversation has been escalating steadily for the past 10 minutes. Isla's voice carries farther than she probably realizes. 6 years, Marcus? 6 years of business trips and late meetings and weekend emergencies? How stupid do you think I am?" "It wasn't supposed to happen," he says, his voice pleading. developed over time. We worked together. We had things in common. You had my husband's client list in common. You had his money in common. You had his trust in common, and you decided to take all of it. She's sharper than I gave her credit for. While Marcus was playing the remorseful spouse routine, Isla was connecting the dots between the affair and the business implications. She understands that this wasn't just about romance. It was about systematic theft disguised as passion. My phone buzzes with a text from my daughter Emily, who's finishing her senior year at Michigan State. Dad, what's happening? Mom's friend posted something on Facebook about a party. Are you okay? I type back, everything's fine. Your mother and I are getting divorced. I'll call you tomorrow to explain. What? Dad, are you serious? What happened? She's been having an affair for 6 years and stealing from my business. I found out and decided to make it public. Don't worry about me. I'm actually doing great. There's a long pause before her response. Holy crap. Are you really okay? Do you need me to come home? Stay in school. Finish your semester. This has been brewing for a long time, and it's better that it's finally out in the open. I love you. Love you too, Dad. Call me tomorrow for sure. I pocket the phone as footsteps approach. Tom Bradley from accounting walks over, his expression somewhere between concern and curiosity. Hell of a speech in there, he says. I have to ask, how long have you known? About the affair? A few months. About the money and the client list? A few weeks. About the house being listed for sale? A few days. Tom whistles low. And you just sat on it? Let her plan the whole party? I wanted everyone to see who she really is. If I'd confronted her privately, she would have spun some story about how we grew apart, how these things happen, how we should handle it like mature adults. She would have controlled the narrative. Instead, you controlled it. Instead, I told the truth in front of witnesses who can't pretend they didn't hear it. Tom nods slowly. The client list thing, that's going to be a problem for the company. Janet's already talking about a full audit, maybe bringing in outside investigators. Good. Marcus's brother's agency has been undercutting our bids for months. Now we know how they got their information. What about you? I mean, you're really retiring, right? This wasn't just a setup for the divorce? I consider the question. 3 months ago, retirement felt like defeat, being pushed out to make room for younger agents, leaving behind the career that defined me for 3 decades. Now it feels like liberation. I'm done with the insurance business, I tell him. 30 years is enough. Time to try something else. Like what? I bought a cabin in Vermont. Figured I'd learn woodworking, maybe write a book about corporate espionage. Sleep until noon if I want to. Tom grins. Sounds like you've got it figured out. More than I have in years. He heads toward his car, and I'm alone again with the parking lot theater. Marcus and Isla's argument has moved to the far side of the lot, but her voice still carries. Reina's support group has dwindled to just Margaret and Linda, both of whom look like they're running out of patience with whatever explanation she's offering. My phone rings. The caller ID shows Stuart Klein, my original divorce attorney, the one I fired last month after discovering he'd been sharing strategy with Reina. They attend the same church, play in the same golf league, probably figured they were doing everyone a favor by trying to keep things amicable. I let it go to voicemail, then play the message. Wes, what the hell was that about? Reina called me in tears, says you ambushed her with some kind of public humiliation. We need to talk about how to handle this properly. Call me back. I delete the message and dial my current attorney, Patricia Voss, who answers on the first ring despite the late hour. I assume the party went well? She asks. Better than expected. How quickly can we move forward with the proceedings? The adultery evidence you provided is rock solid, and the financial documentation speaks for itself. With the prenup's infidelity clause, she's not entitled to much. The house, the retirement accounts, the business assets, most of it stays with you. What about her claims on the client list? She might argue that she helped build those relationships. She helped steal them, which is a different matter entirely. I've already been in touch with the FBI's white-collar crime division. They're interested in the systematic nature of the theft, especially the interstate component. The FBI. I hadn't considered federal involvement, but it makes sense. Marcus's brother's agency operates in 3 states, and the client transfers crossed state lines. What started as a marital dispute has become a criminal investigation. How long before this gets complicated, I ask. It's already complicated, but complicated works in our favor. The more agencies that get involved, the more pressure on them to cooperate. They'll want to minimize their legal exposure, which means accepting whatever settlement terms we offer. Good. I want this finished quickly. It will be. Enjoy your retirement, Wes. You've earned it. I hang up as Reina approaches. her face streaked with tears and her carefully applied makeup smudged. The confident woman who gave the speech an hour ago has been replaced by someone who looks fragile and desperate. "We need to talk," she says. "I think we've said everything that needs saying." Not in front of all those people, privately, like adults. Adults don't have affairs for 6 years. Adults don't steal their spouse's client list. Adults don't list the family home for sale without discussion. She flinches at each accusation, but presses forward. "I know I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I interrupt. "Burning dinner is a mistake. Forgetting an anniversary is a mistake. What you did was systematic betrayal." "I was lonely, Wes. You worked all the time. You never paid attention to me. You took me for granted. Marcus listened to me, made me feel special. So you decided to take my life's work and give it to him? It wasn't supposed to happen like that. He said his brother's agency was struggling, that just a few client referrals would help them get established. I didn't think you'd notice. $4 million in annual premiums, Reina. 30 years of relationship building, and you didn't think I'd notice?" She wipes her eyes with a tissue that's already soaked through. "I know how it looks, but it wasn't about the money. I love him. You love what he represents. Freedom from responsibility, excitement, the thrill of sneaking around. You don't love him. You love the idea of him." "That's not true." "Then why haven't you left me? 6 years, Reina. If you really loved him, if you really wanted a different life, why stay married to someone you supposedly can't stand?" She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. The affair wasn't about love, it was about having everything. The security of marriage, the excitement of adultery, the financial benefits of both. She wanted to keep me as a provider while enjoying Marcus as a diversion, at least until she could figure out how to transition from one to the other without losing anything in the process. "The house sale," I continue. "When were you planning to tell me about that?" "After the retirement party. I thought once you weren't working anymore, once you had time to think about what you wanted, you might be ready for a change. A change that involves selling our home for below market value to a buyer you'd already arranged?" "Marcus found someone who could close quickly. I thought you'd appreciate not having to deal with showings and negotiations." "Marcus found a buyer. Of course he did. Let me guess, someone connected to his family? Someone who'd be willing to pay cash and not ask too many questions about why the sale was so urgent?" Her silence confirms my suspicion. The house sale wasn't just about liquidating assets. It was about moving money quickly, probably to accounts I'd never seen and couldn't trace. "Here's what's going to happen," I tell her. "You're going to move out of the house tonight. You can stay with Margaret or Linda or whoever's still speaking to you after tonight's performance. You're going to withdraw your name from the house listing and cancel whatever arrangement you made with Marcus's buyer, and you're going to cooperate fully with the divorce proceedings. I don't have anywhere to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to blow up our marriage. Wes, please, I know I hurt you, but we can work through this. Marriage counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. I'll end things with Marcus. I'll make this right." "It's too late for that." "It's never too late. 25 years of marriage has to count for something." "It does count. It counts as 25 years of evidence that you're capable of lying to someone's face while systematically destroying their life. It counts as proof that you see other people as resources to be exploited, rather than human beings deserving of respect." She starts crying harder, the kind of desperate sobbing that's designed to elicit sympathy and forgiveness. It might have worked on me once. It might still work on Marcus, or on her friends, or on whatever therapist she eventually finds to validate her victim narrative. But I'm done being moved by her tears. "The prenup you signed has an infidelity clause," I continue. "You get nothing from the retirement accounts, nothing from the business assets, nothing from the house equity. You'll receive spousal support for 2 years. Enough to get back on your feet and find work." "Work? I haven't had a job in 15 years. "Then you'll need to develop some skills quickly. I hear Marcus's brother's agency is hiring, assuming they survive the federal investigation." Her face goes white. "Federal investigation?" "A client list theft across state lines is a federal crime, Reina. The FBI takes corporate espionage seriously, especially when it involves systematic data theft and interstate commerce violations." "I didn't know. Marcus said it was just business referrals." "Marcus said a lot of things, apparently. The question is whether you're going to cooperate with the investigation or whether you're going to protect the man who convinced you to commit federal crimes." She stares at me like she's seeing a stranger, and maybe she is. The patient, trusting husband who never questioned her movements or challenged her stories is gone. In his place stands someone who spent months gathering evidence, someone who planned tonight's revelation with the same care she put into planning her affair. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispers. "But you did hurt me. Every day for 6 years, you chose to hurt me. You chose Marcus over me, his family's business over mine, your excitement over our stability. You made those choices deliberately and repeatedly. I made mistakes. You made choices. Own them. I turn toward my car, but she grabs my arm. Where are you going? Home. To pack your things. I'll leave them on the front porch. You can't just throw me out of my own house. It's not your house anymore. Check the deed. I had your name removed last week when I discovered the unauthorized listing. Turns out that when someone commits fraud, their claims to jointly owned property become legally questionable. She lets go of my arm like it's on fire. You planned this. All of it. The party, the photos, the legal papers. You planned to destroy me. I planned to tell the truth. If that destroys you, maybe you should have made different choices. I get in my car and drive away, leaving her standing alone in the parking lot under the harsh glow of the security lights. In my rearview mirror, I see Marcus approaching her, probably offering comfort and promises that everything will work out somehow. They deserve each other, but they won't have each other for long. The federal investigation will tear apart their relationship along with their finances. The divorce will eliminate any claim Reina has to my assets. The professional consequences will destroy Marcus's career and probably his brother's business. By the time the legal system finishes with them, they'll have nothing left except each other's company and the knowledge that their grand romance cost them everything they once had. I drive through the quiet suburban streets toward the house I've called home for 20 years, thinking about cake and justice and the strange satisfaction of finally telling the truth after years of living a lie. Tomorrow I'll start packing for Vermont. Tonight, I'll finish the chocolate cake with vanilla frosting, the one Reina ordered because it's her favorite, not mine. But I think I'm going to enjoy every bite. The house feels different when you know you're leaving it. I walk through rooms that held 20 years of memories, but instead of nostalgia, I feel relief. The kitchen where Reina planned her deceptions over morning coffee. The living room where she took calls from Marcus while I watched television 3 feet away. The home office where she copied my client files while I slept upstairs, trusting and oblivious. It's 3 a.m, and I'm wide awake, boxing up the remnants of a life I no longer want. Reina's belongings fill 6 large boxes. Clothes, jewelry, books, the accumulated possessions of a woman who thought she could have everything. I tape each box carefully and carry them to the front porch, arranging them neatly beside the door like a care package for someone I used to know. My phone has been buzzing constantly since I got home. Text messages from coworkers, missed calls from Reina's friends, voicemails from people who want explanations or apologies, or just the satisfaction of hearing more details about tonight's disaster. I ignore them all except for one number I don't recognize. This is Wes. Mr. Farrow, this is Isla Torvin, Marcus's wife. We met tonight at your retirement party. Her voice is steady but tired, the sound of someone who's been crying but has moved past tears into something harder. I remember. How can I help you, Mrs. Torvin? I was wondering if we could meet tomorrow. There are things about my husband and your wife that I think you should know, things that might be useful for your divorce proceedings. What kind of things? Financial records, travel receipts, phone bills. I've been keeping track of Marcus's activities for the past year, ever since I started suspecting something was wrong. I have documentation you might find interesting. This is unexpected. While I was gathering evidence against Reina, Isla was conducting her own investigation into Marcus, 2 betrayed spouses working parallel cases without knowing it. Why didn't you confront him earlier? Same reason you didn't confront your wife, I imagine. I wanted to be sure. I wanted proof that couldn't be explained away or dismissed, and I wanted to understand the full scope of what they were doing. The full scope? The affair is just part of it, Mr. Farrow. There's money involved that doesn't belong to either of them. There are business arrangements that go beyond simple client referrals. There are plans they made after your retirement that would have left both of us with nothing. I sit down heavily in my kitchen chair, the same spot where I've eaten breakfast for 20 years. How much do you know? Enough to put them both in prison if we handle this correctly. Can we meet tomorrow? Say, 10 o'clock at the Denny's on Route 9? I'll be there. Good. And Mr. Farrow? What you did tonight took courage. I wish I'd had the guts to expose them publicly like that. It wasn't courage. It was anger. Sometimes they're the same thing. She hangs up, and I'm left wondering what other secrets are about to surface. The affair seemed straightforward. Painful, but simple. But Isla's words suggest something more complex, more criminal than I realized. I make coffee and sit at my laptop, opening the files my private investigator compiled over the past month. Bank records, credit card statements, travel itineraries, phone logs. The digital footprint of a marriage dissolving in real time. The pattern is clear once you know what to look for. Regular withdrawals from our joint account, always in amounts small enough to avoid triggering automatic alerts. Charges to hotels and restaurants in cities where Reina claimed to be visiting friends or attending book club events. Airline tickets purchased with our credit card but never mentioned in conversation. But there are other transactions I hadn't focused on before. Wire transfers to accounts I can't identify. Payments to businesses that don't seem to exist when I search for them online. A financial trail that extends beyond funding an affair into something that looks like money laundering. My phone rings again. This time it's Patricia Voss, my attorney. I know it's late, but I wanted to update you on developments. The FBI is moving faster than I expected. What kind of developments? They've frozen several accounts connected to Marcus Torvin and his brother's agency. Apparently, your client list wasn't the only information they were stealing. They've been running a systematic operation targeting insurance agents across 3 states. How systematic? Dozens of agents, hundreds of clients, millions in premiums redirected over the past 5 years. Your wife's involvement appears to be just one piece of a much larger scheme. I feel a chill that has nothing to do with the late hour. Are you saying Reina was part of an organized criminal operation? I'm saying the evidence suggests she was recruited specifically to target you. The timeline fits. She started her relationship with Marcus right around the time his brother's agency was incorporated. The affair might have been genuine, but it was also strategic. She was a plant. That's one way to put it. The FBI will want to interview you tomorrow, probably multiple times. They're treating this as a RICO case, racketeering, conspiracy, interstate fraud. The penalties are severe. What does that mean for the divorce? It means your wife has bigger problems than spousal support. If she's convicted on federal charges, she'll be lucky to avoid prison time. The divorce becomes a secondary concern. I hang up and stare at my coffee, trying to process this new information. The woman I married, the woman I trusted with my life and my business, wasn't just unfaithful. She was a criminal. The affair wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was a long-term operation designed to destroy my career and steal my clients. How long had they been planning this? How many other agents had they targeted? How many other marriages had they destroyed in service of their scheme? My laptop chimes with an email from an address I don't recognize. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what you've started. This isn't over. No signature, but the tone is familiar. Marcus, probably, or maybe Reina. Threats from people whose world collapsed in the space of an hour, who went from confident conspirators to exposed criminals because I decided to tell the truth at a retirement party. I forward the email to Patricia and to the FBI contact number she provided. Let them add it to their evidence file. Let them trace the IP address and add witness intimidation to the growing list of charges. Outside, a car pulls into my driveway. Through the kitchen window, I see Reina getting out of what looks like Marcus's BMW. She approaches the front porch, sees the boxes, and begins crying again. But instead of the desperate sobs from the parking lot, this sounds different. Angrier, more frustrated than heartbroken. She pounds on the front door. Wes, open up. We need to talk. I don't respond. There's nothing left to discuss, and anything she says now will probably be used as evidence in federal court. Better to let her attorneys handle communication from this point forward. I know you're in there. Your car is in the garage. Stop being childish and open the door. Childish. After 6 years of systematic betrayal, after stealing my life's work, after planning to sell our house without my knowledge, she's calling me childish for refusing to engage with her drama. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. I call the police non-emergency line and report a disturbance. Within 10 minutes, a patrol car arrives, and I watch through the window as 2 officers approach Reina. The conversation is brief. She's trespassing on property where she no longer lives, and she needs to leave immediately. She points at the boxes, probably explaining that they contain her belongings. One of the officers helps her load them into Marcus's car while the other takes notes. They're professional but firm. She can retrieve her possessions, but she can't stay on the property or continue trying to force contact with someone who clearly doesn't want to speak with her. Marcus gets out of the car to help with the boxes, and I get my first clear look at him since the party. He appears to have aged 10 years in the past few hours. His expensive suit is wrinkled, his hair disheveled, his movements those of a man who knows his life is falling apart and can't figure out how to stop it. The officers finish loading the boxes and wait while Marcus and Reina get back in the car. They drive away slowly, probably heading to a hotel or to Marcus's house, assuming his wife hasn't changed the locks. One of the officers approaches my front door, and I let him in. Evening, Mr. Farrow. I'm Officer Davis. We've removed the individuals from your property, but I wanted to check if you need anything else. I don't think so. Thank you for responding so quickly. No problem. For what it's worth, we heard about what happened at your retirement party. Word travels fast in a town this size. I imagine it does. My wife works at Midwest Mutual. She was at the party tonight. Says you handled yourself well under difficult circumstances. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. You might want to consider changing your locks, maybe installing a security system. Domestic situations can escalate quickly, especially when there's money involved. I'll look into it. He hands me his card. Call if you have any more problems. We'll keep an extra patrol in the neighborhood for the next few nights. After he leaves, I deadbolt the front door and check all the windows. The house feels secure but empty, like a theater after the final performance. Tomorrow I'll start the process of selling it, legitimately this time, with proper listings and fair market pricing. The proceeds will help fund my new life in Vermont, assuming the federal investigation doesn't freeze my assets as part of their case. I pour another cup of coffee and return to my laptop, scrolling through emails from coworkers and friends who want to express support or ask questions or simply satisfy their curiosity about the evening's events. Most are kind, a few are judgmental, and several offer help with whatever comes next. One message stands out from my boss Janet. Wes, I'm sorry about everything you're going through, but I have to ask, do you have documentation about the client transfers? The FBI contacted me tonight, and they want to review our internal records. Anything you can provide would help us cooperate with their investigation. I reply with copies of everything my private investigator found. Bank records, transfer documents, correspondence between Reina and Marcus, evidence of the systematic theft that's been happening under our noses for years. The company will need this information to protect themselves legally and to help the FBI build their case. Another email, this one from Emily. Dad, I've been reading news articles online about what happened tonight. Are you really okay? This sounds like more than just a divorce. I call her, despite the late hour. She answers immediately. Dad, what's going on? The articles are saying something about federal crimes and organized fraud. Is Mom in serious trouble? She might be. I found out tonight that her affair was part of a larger scheme to steal client information from insurance agents. The FBI is investigating. Oh my God. Dad, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Mom was capable of something like this. Neither did I. But I'm okay, Emily. Actually, I'm better than okay. For the first time in years, I know exactly where I stand and what I'm dealing with. Do you need me to come home? I can drive down tomorrow. Stay in school, finish your semester. This situation is going to take months to resolve, and there's nothing you can do to help right now. What about Mom? Should I call her? That's up to you, but be careful what you say. Anything she tells you might become evidence in a federal case. There's a long pause. I can't believe this is happening. Yesterday we were a normal family, and now Mom might go to prison. We haven't been a normal family for 6 years, sweetheart. We just didn't know it. Are you going to be okay financially? I mean, with the divorce and everything? I'll be fine. The prenup protects most of my assets, and your college fund is in a separate trust. You don't need to worry about money. I'm not worried about money, Dad. I'm worried about you. Don't be. I'm tougher than I look, and I'm finally free to build the life I actually want instead of the one I thought I was supposed to have. We talk for another few minutes, and I can hear her processing the reality that her mother isn't the person she thought she was. It's a hard lesson, but better learned now than after years of additional deception. After we hang up, I walk through the house one more time, turning off lights and checking locks. In the master bedroom, I look at the king-size bed where Reina slept beside me for 20 years while planning my destruction. The closet where she kept clothes bought with money stolen from my clients. The vanity where she applied makeup before meeting her lover. Tomorrow I'll start dismantling this life piece by piece. But tonight, I'm going to sleep better than I have in months, knowing that the truth is finally out in the open and the people who betrayed me are facing consequences for their choices. I set my alarm for 8 o'clock. I have a meeting with Isla at 10, and I suspect she's going to tell me things that will make tonight's revelations seem simple by comparison. But I'm ready for whatever comes next. After 30 years of building other people's security through insurance policies, it's time to build some security of my own. And the first step is making sure that the people who tried to destroy me face justice for what they've done. The last thing I do before bed is eat a piece of the retirement cake, savoring every bite of the dessert that was supposed to celebrate the end of my career and became instead the beginning of my real life. It tastes like freedom.